Hello and welcome. This is Donald Tung, of Managing Director of New World Theater, and I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us this afternoon for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a time to listen. And while I'm coming to you live from Londonderry, New Hampshire, we are presenting works from writers from all across the country and actors who are joining us from New York, Boston, California, and numerous places in between. And I welcome you to visit our page, newworldtheater.org, where you can find out more information about the people who are participating in this presentation. And to all the writers who have joined us today, who have submitted works to our monologue project, thank you. We have been greatly moved and challenged by your powerful works, and are honored to be a part of your creative output. So, how did we get here today? Well, like a lot of people who witnessed the murder of George Floyd, we thought we had to do something as a theater company. So we decided to ask Black playwrights and authors to submit monologues, and we've been overwhelmed by the response and by the power of the words and stories we have received. As I read the monologues, I'll admit, as a white male, I can't personally relate to a lot of what I'm reading, but I want to listen, really listen. Unfortunately, active listening is not something that comes naturally to us. Our spouse may be telling us about their day, and we've got a Shakespearean drama going on in our head. Or we are listening and trying to think of some way to respond, or even worse, come up with a counter narrative, like, gee, honey, maybe your boss just likes your dress. So we're here to listen. And these stories may not be part of our experience. We may even find them uncomfortable, or we might say, well, that doesn't relate to me. Whatever counter narrative that our mind or thoughts start to come up with as we listen to these monologues, I would just ask you to simply tell them, please shut up and listen.
My father begged me to never take the bus. And like 1950 something, all the Negroes are sitting at the back of this one. Coincidence, I am sure. But one of us Negroes is drunk and loud and vulgar. He boasts about his time in jail, and this Negro throws the other N-word around like a Jim Crow boomerang. And I feel my skin get hot. All that melanin absorbing the sun, but still reflecting off each other. It's blinding such that we become indistinguishable to others. And I fear that the beige ears and blue eyes in front of me are thinking we are all drunk and loud and vulgar. My brown eyes catch the brown eyes of the sister next to me as we confide in each other. Our silent shame. We know they hate him. I think they hate us. I start to hate myself, and I too hate him for making me hate myself again. I think. And suddenly, like he could hear my thoughts, this stranger decides to direct his drunk, loud, vulgar self at me. I politely decline his conversation several times, the way all women have rehearsed the structured improvisation of harassment that always ends in insults and FUs. He says that I'm a stereotypical Black woman. I wonder about stereotypical kettles and pots. And just as his harsh words escalate, the world stops. Or just the bus, I'm still not sure. as the driver comes back to find out what the problem is. And this drunk and loud and vulgar man who has been annoying everyone but only really bothering me stands up, grabs his only weapon, his clothed black cock, to defend his right to talk to me, who has declined this conversation. The driver walks away, back to the front of the bus. And finally, his drunk and loud and vulgar brain figures it out. His place on the food chain. This white woman is pulling the trump card. She is restoring law and order. And as we wait for the police on the side of the highway, this drunk and loud and vulgar man quiets down and sobers up to apologize and beg this stereotypical Black woman for mercy. He asks me to tell them we don't have a problem. He calls me babe. I make him say my name. He tells me his life will be messed up if he doesn't get to where he's going. I know that I will be messed up if he ends up in cuffs or a coffin because of this night that reminds me of how much I hate being Black and a woman, this curse. I give him my phone to call his family. I remind him to pray. I comfort this man who has cursed me and everyone who looks like me. And when 3 cop cars show up, I walk through the aisle of blue eyes as they burn through my melanin skin, peeling off to reveal a layer of red-boned privilege. My summer tan disappears and I code switch into the type of girl who feels safe around boys in blue. And I try really, really hard to make this Black life matter before they make the kind of judgment that cannot be undone. And after they put him in the back of one of 3 cop cars that showed up in a response to one drunk, loud, vulgar man of color, one of the boys in blue asks me again if I knew this man. I tell them again that I don't, but perhaps at this point I do. I feel like Peter denying the Son of God before his crucifixion. The cop looks at me in disbelief and says, "Then why did you get off the bus with him?" And I want to say, because Trayvon, because Mike, because Eric, because Philando, because Alton, because he is drunk and loved and vulnerable and his life matters. And I forgive him. But this character I'm playing doesn't talk like that, so I upwardly inflect. I just wanted you to have all the information. And I leave the boys in blue to join the blue eyes on the bus. We take off. And I pretend that we are headed to the same destination. And maybe we are. But somehow I always find myself lost, delayed at these invisible intersections.
Wilson, I've always been a handful of minorities in elite schools. I've learned to tone down my size, my Blackness by becoming shy, introverted, friendly. Careful not to scare the rich white kids or their parents. Their ignorance took away my self-confidence and my sanity. I've been told I'm not too Black enough too many times. It's nearly destroyed me. See, but not fitting in part leads you to think that your talent on the pitch will make up for it. So you overcompensate, create a persona separate from who you really are, use it as motivation to gain respect from playing a game. Make a fool of yourself at times, anything, in the quest to one day feel cool. Anyone else in this shitty locker room situation probably wouldn't take everything so personally, right? Say, fuck it, you're making millions. You're living your dream, but you're different. Have always been different, been more sensitive, and that same work ethic that made me a two-time All-Star, I thought would earn me some respect. I mean, I'm a rookie who's averaged better than some of the old heads on the team. Most of them will never get the numbers I put up. So yeah, I took what I wanted from the people who refused to give it to me. I demanded it. That whitewashed, hermetically sealed bubble I was educated in didn't provide those lessons. Now, I know what I did was stupid, all right? I know right from wrong, and I consider integrity to be incredibly important. But the worst thing of all is being called a snitch by my own teammates. I won't go down for it, hell no. And if that's it for me, then so be it. If that means I gotta lace up my cleats and lock them away, okay. Because honestly, that shit don't matter. None of this matters. The fans, the federation, the team, none of it. Nothing matters besides my family, my close friends, and my own happiness. But even that doesn't fucking matter. Because I'll still be looked at as the faggot kid who couldn't even handle the locker room.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago, somewhere between the blacks on the east and the whites on the west. I was happy in between. It was safe, friendly, a whole lot of fun. In the winter, after the first big snowfall, we'd make snow angels, have snowball fights, and play lost in the wilderness. In the summer, we'd ride our bikes, jump rope, have family picnics in the park. But things were changing. And before we knew it, teenagers sprouted on every corner. And with teenagers came gangs, graffiti, boomboxes, and daytime parties. Dad didn't like it, and everyone heard about it. Kids, one day we're going to the West, where the grass is greener and the people whiter. No riffraff out West. Smart people, hardworking, classy. That's where we belong, kids. Why do you think I'm not home much? Because I'm busting my ass working 2 jobs to get us there. That's why. But don't you worry, kids. We're going to make it out West. You better believe we're going to make it. I must have heard him say that every single day until one morning, without a word, Mommy, Dad, my Haitian grandmother, Pupe, with her stolen grocery cart from Jewel, my 4 sisters, and Sparky, our little horned dog of a Chihuahua, packed our bags and took off. We made it to the West, all right, a whole 4 blocks west. We could have carried our furniture and walked there, but we drove instead. And within 5 minutes, we pulled into the driveway. My heart raced a bit from the excitement of seeing this quaint house that looked much like the one we just left. I almost ran toward it, but Dad headed for the other house, the one that was slightly slanted to the left. It was a yellow frame house with missing parts like the staircase, half the porch, some of the roof. But Dad was right. The grass was greener here. People spent days and nights watering, planting, weeding, trimming, mowing, mulching. Our next door neighbor, Mr. Zvensky, won the contest for having the greenest grass and for his invention of an electric barbed wired fence that would fry kids who came within 5 inches of it. I got caught in it once. We were playing catch, 2x2 sidewalk Dad had marked off for us at the front porch. I hit the ball to my sister, but not being very good at aiming, I hit the ball smack in the middle of Mr. Zvensky's luscious, super duper green lawn, and it had just been watered. Without thinking, I ran to get it and my foot got caught on the wire on my way out. I swear it fried my hair. Poof, big hair, big Haitian hair. Diabla! Mommy shouted, her favorite nickname for me, devil. Mommy was a beautiful white Puerto Rican with perfectly straight hair. She didn't speak English, but didn't know what to do with my suddenly tightly wound Haitian curls. She tried brushing it frantically, but it only got bigger. Ouch! I screamed. She pulled harder. Coge por ser tan estúpida. She was right. I deserved it. I was so stupid. Why did I have to step on his grass anyway? Those white people were smart, real smart. The night before the first day of school, I was so beside myself giddy I couldn't sleep. The eve before every first day of school was like Christmas Eve to me, except I wouldn't check the presents under the tree. I'd get up in the middle of the night to do inventory on my school stuff. Shiny shoes, check. White socks, check. Polyester uniform, check. Backpack, check. Lunchbox, check. I'd sniff my new crayons, my fresh notebooks, my loose leaf paper, my erasers, my number 2 pencils, and my glue. That Elmer's glue. But this particular eve of first days must have been the best of them all. I felt the flutter of butterflies and fell in and out of consciousness, dreaming about my graffiti-free school, my smart and pretty teacher, and my cool white friends. In the morning, Mommy made the usual. Oatmeal slightly burnt. Cómenselo, despreciadas. We ate it fast, so not to seem ungrateful. Bye, Mommy. We gave her the usual hug and kiss. Bye, Pupe. Pupe sat on the front porch enjoying her Café Bustelo and Camel cigarette. She put out the cigarette quickly so she could grab my face and kiss it. Then she gave me such an embrace that it fueled me. Bon chance, Nana. She wished me good luck in French. My grandmother had been living with us on and off since I was born, and I had learned to speak a little French and Creole over the years. By age 12, however, I settled for English. Thank you, Pupe, love you. Bye, Sparky. I kicked the horned dog off my leg. Dad waited for us at the bottom of the stairs. See that? He pointed proudly down the street. Look at all those kids waiting to walk with you. What did I tell you? Smart, classy people. He was right. There must have been 10 of them, mostly boys, waiting for us on the corner. Oh yeah, life in the West was getting better already. Huge smiles, laughter, cheering. I knew one of them would at least like me. Hi, I had a smile from ear to ear. He was tall, blonde, blue-eyed, and beautiful. Spit! Splat! My heart was in my hand when I realized he spit on my right shoulder. Spicks! What's a spick? I asked my sister Lisa. Spick and span, stupid. She didn't look convinced. You know, like we're all clean and shiny. Go back where you came from, you fucking dirty spicks! Well, there went that theory. Spit, splat. One landed on my shiny new shoes. What do you mean go back where we came from? I shouted in my head. It's a few blocks that way. Spit, splat. And another landed on my big hair. Smelly spicks. Hey, we don't smell. I shouted louder to myself, spit, splat, right on my face. Lisa, tell them something. I whispered, desperate, terrified, angry, confused. No, keep your head down. Don't look them in the eye. Stay closer, together, hold hands tighter. Lisa was resolved in her terror. Nigger spics! It didn't take long to realize what spick meant. It wasn't clean and shiny. Spics were ugly, despicable, and unthinkable humans. Spit, 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 all the way to school. No, church. You had to go to mass every morning to start the day right. I suppose it was to confess after you spit. I remember Father Patrick's sermon about a fresh start. I only remember it because that's all I could think about all day long. Fresh start, fresh start. How could I be fresh when I reeked of spit? And that pretty teacher that I dreamt about that night turned out to be a stout, red-nosed, angry nun with black-rimmed glasses and bad breath. So, you're the new girl. How do you like it here? Sister Judith asked me in front of a whole class who was already mumbling and snickering. It's okay, I guess. Speak up, Missy. Oh, you don't speak English, do you? No, I mean, yes, of course I speak English. I hear your mother's from another country. Mexico, right? Her nose flared when she talked. No, my mother's from Puerto Rico. Well, you're all the same to me. No, I don't think we're all the same. Don't you get sassy with me, Missy. By now, she had made her way to my desk and pointed her twisted finger between my eyes. I'm putting you in our remedial reading group with who, I thought? The kids that spit? But I read better. I read faster. Listen to them. They can't read. They only know how to spit. Spit, 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 spit. They spit every single day. It was like that out west. No riffraff. Smarter, classier, whiter. I guess they liked to spit. I didn't like it. We never spit. No one spit back home. About 6 months later, I earned my way out of the remedial reading group and finally had a few friends. One day, out of the blue, just like that. No more spit, not a drop. Oh God, one of them liked me. Ken Swade, that tall, blonde, blue-eyed babe. He liked me? I like you, he said. You're not like the rest of them. Thank you? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Yeah, no problem. So will you go out with me? He brushed his shiny blonde hair away from his eyes. Gosh, he was something. I don't know, I answered. I need to think about it. It took me a whole 2 seconds. Thanks, but no thanks, loser. Ken, we're so wrong for each other. You see, you like to spit and I don't. I think it's a disgusting habit and you think it's cool. I think it makes you weak and you swear it makes you strong. That's what I wanted to tell him. I wanted to hurt him with my words, to make him feel as small as he had made me feel once, but I thought it would only make me pathetic just like him. So instead I said, my parents won't let me. Why? That's dumb. He had a way with words, that one. Well, they're old fashioned. 13 is kind of young. I'm sorry. I lied. I wasn't sorry. His jaw dropped, mouth wide open. I don't think anyone ever said no to him before. I saw some spit drip onto his chin. I didn't say anything. I let him sit with it, all wet and smelly. I imagined it dripping onto his torn t-shirt and soaking his jeans down to his dirty shoes. I wondered for just 1 second how he might have felt if I had poured that spit all over him. And then I smiled, and without another word, I walked away, proud. Not because the feeling that sweet revenge sometimes gives, but because I didn't care if he liked me anymore. It didn't matter. It would never matter again. I had arrived, and I thanked him for it. I thanked every single one of them because their spit made me a stronger person, made me classier, smarter. Dad was right when he said we were going to make it out west. We did make it. We made it big.
I got a 2x4 in that closet over there. You talk to me like that again, it's going to go right across that fat mouth of yours. Now, don't you get it twisted, little girl. I am with the cause, 100%. But this is a battle we've been fighting since this country's inception. And if you're going to fight it, you best know what you're up against. You sit your black ass down right now and listen to what I have to say. Oh, I was out there. Oh, yes, your grandma was out there. I remember when I visited my grandpa in the hospital. Holy Cross it was. Cancer was eating his body away. So I went down to visit him for the last time. Back to the front desk and asked security to see him. Guard Stone told me, no, you're wearing pants. Back in those days, they could turn away a gal for wearing slacks. Bet you didn't know that with your young feminist self. So I says to him, hold that thought. I took a couple of steps away from that desk and dropped them trousers right then and there. Folded them up just as neat as could be, draped them over my left arm, went right back up to that desk, looked that man dead in the eye and said, excuse me, I'd like to see my grandpa. You should have seen that man's jaw drop the floor. He pointed me straight to my grandpa's room. So Pop-Up tries to talk. but couldn't. Lungs were filled with fluid. So he wrote some parting advice on a piece of paper. Fight for what's right, but walk away when you can. Don't let no man take your breath away. Oh, he knew I'd formed this group with some high school friends, Mikey, May, and Charlotte. We were the Petworth Freedom Riders, and child, we were some serious badasses. We antagonized cops with protests right there at their precincts. We went to the big marches too. I was just 23 when we saw King give his I Had a Dream speech. And for the first time in our lives, we felt some real, tangible hope. 5 years later, all that hope was gone when King got shot. There was a People's Drugstore over on 14th and U, and news of his death was blaring on their radio. There were about 30 of us in there, including Stokely Carmichael. And he said, well, if we must die, we better die fighting back. He changed his tune real quick as the crowd started shouting, let's burn these stores down. Let's go kill us some honkies. Stokely was arguing with these youths, telling them to go home, calm down, and fight another day. But ain't no one listened, including me. Stand up for Martin! Stand up for Martin, we chanted. Over and over again, we chanted. A Mustang pulls up and we think it's undercover. But it turned out to be one of Stokely's friends. And one of the finest revolutionaries of our time hopped in that car and got out of Dodge. That nigga is fake, we said. Let's take to these streets. So we start throwing rocks, bottles. We looting and burning stores. DC police made an about face. But Johnson calls in the National Guard and they came in with tanks and heavy artillery. Bullets were flying, bones cracking, blood spilling, and bodies are dropping like flies. We started running and broke into this place. Lord, I forget the name, but they were a carryout that was well known for their fried chicken and mumbo sauce. Oh, we revolutionaries were hungry. Anyway, we're eating, and the next thing we know, a raging fire breaks out. Oh, we dumped them wings and hightailed ourselves out of that building. Or so we thought. Mikey never made it out. Took authorities 2 days to find his remains. Had to cremate him because he was already burned so badly. And you know what happened at his funeral? I found Grandpa's piece of paper right there in my coat pocket, unfurled it, read those immortal words, and realized how badly I'd failed. Over 1,100 fires burned that night. Burned down damn near half the city. And for what? So cops can shoot us down like boars in the wild? So we can be harassed, beaten, and raped by those dirty, no good, entitled men? So we can send a white supremacist to the highest office in the land? Huh? What's changed? Nothing. Not in the 500 years we've been in this God-forsaken land, and a damn sure won't change because of the two of you saying so. So, you think about that next time you want to go risking your lives because some silly hashtag ain't gonna stop a cop from blowing you away. I had to bury Mikey, and I just buried your parents. So I ain't burying the two of you.
Rage can be terrifying, but I want you to understand. Imagine you're 6, and you overhear that your grandmother's first husband, your biological grandfather, was murdered by white men in the South Carolina in 1925. Imagine at 12, taking your 5-year-old brother back to push merry-go-round at the public park because white kids won't let him ride. A blonde girl of 5 says, brown people are the worst people in the world. Even God don't like them. Imagine at 14, walking along the railroad tracks parallel to ferry with your friend Drake and having 2 police officers stop you, guns drawn, to ask what you were doing. Talking about the future, you say, true, because you both are honor students and dare to dream. Once, when you inadvertently cut off another car, the driver, a woman, screams, "Nigger!" You would prefer being called an idiot or an asshole, some insult that keeps your humanity intact instead of calling hers into question. A black man in the doorway catches 41 bullets for trying to comply with a police request for ID by taking out his wallet. A child with a toy gun is shot dead without even being ordered to drop the weapon. You see black people shot in the back, shot in the yards, shot outside stores, shot in their homes, shot while jogging, even shot while sleeping. You see them choked to death or knelt upon until they choked to death. You see far too many killers walk free and you want to scream. So your anger becomes rage. But even in rage, you know that you and others like you will still believe in the American dream. The day you all stop, the day you all the marginalized people believe that there is no place in this country for the darker skin and other differences, that bigotry is beyond redemption, is the day America burns to the ground.
Newton's first law, inertia, is defined as the property of matter by which it retains a state of rest or velocity along a straight line, so long as it's not acted upon by external force. Shout out to dictionary.com. Urban Dictionary goes on to say, don't confuse this with momentum, which is the impetus gained by a moving object. It's like Urban Dictionary gets me as a black man in my aversion for being confused for something that I'm not. So tonight, I'm leaving my job at NIH. Bethesda Merlin, motherfucker. I'm a scientist, a physicist, and I may be a scrub physicist. I did just start that last year, know what I mean? But I know my way around Stefan's laws, Newton's laws, the law of conservation of energy. I know some laws, Plus, I got receipts from Johns Hopkins and MIT. So I'm leaving my job, right? I'm in my car. I'm in motion. I'm a little tired, but nothing out of the ordinary. I'm cruising, top down, in my head. I'm just but in reality, I'm in a damn Kia, a scrub car for a scrub physicist rolling down scrubby ass Wisconsin Avenue late at night. I'm leaving my job. I just want to get home. I'm retaining, and I am retaining my velocity. I'm bobbing my head to some J. Cole. I'm in motion, inertia. My heartbeat steady, thumping. J. Cole is thumping. And in my rear view, boom, blue, red lights, steady flashing. Steady, heartbeat now racing. Breath stopping. J. Cole still foot braking. I pull over along the side of Wisconsin. And the officer angles his car to the rear of mine. Though initially startled by the sudden burst of lights and sounds, I remind myself I'm a moderately charming man. Chin up, bruh. You got this. But the cop gets out of his car, slams his door, and is up on my driver's side door with the momentum of a bullet. He's barking at me, and it takes me a minute to orient my brain to understand what he's saying. I need you out of the car, he shouts. Hold up, what? What did I? You need my license and my... Before I could finish my sentence, he's opening my car door and pulling me from my car. Now, I understand a lot about the law of physics. To every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's third law. But I do not understand the law that this cop is currently operating under. My instinct to survive overrules my reason, and I could feel my body in a struggle with this stranger. I do not want to be in a struggle with this man, but we are now tussling. Kevin Gibson, he starts. You're wanted for strong arm robbery. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop. And I'm trying to tell him he has the wrong Kevin Gibson. And I'm just trying to get home from work, but our bodies already built up this momentum. And I could see him reaching down at his, and I'm trying to get off his grasp. And I'm finally able to get the bottom of my foot onto the car and push off. We both go down. He breaks his grasp, and I jump up and start running. I'm hauling ass down Wisconsin. And all I can hear is his fading voice behind me shouting, stop, stop, stop. And then a gunshot. He misses me because I'm still running. I didn't feel a thing. I'm back in motion. It's like the world around me is hushed so that all I can hear is the pounding of my feet and the thumping of my chest. But for the first time, I realized how chilly it is on a June night. It's crazy. I can see my own breath. As I neared home, 10 miles later, I slowed down because I fully expected to see cop cars swarming my spot, or at least the neighborhood. But nothing. The burbs was quieter than usual. Crickets. So now, here I am waiting. Not sure how long I got before the cops show up. I may have been home for about a half an hour. They obviously got the wrong Kevin Gibson. Maybe I can explain that to him. Shit, I can't be on a run. I'm not that kind of dude. But I fought a fucking cop and ran. And not just ran, I outran a damn bullet. I could be a black hero. Maybe I could find out something about the other Kevin. friends mark the 1-year anniversary of a shooting death of young NIH physicists at the hands of a local officer. A case of mistaken identity. Can't believe it's been another year, Kevin. Still miss you like it was yesterday? I wish I could hear your laugh one more time, nerd. Cindy, you're the nerd. What the fuck? I'm dead? I've been dead for a year? Oh, I'm a ghost. A black-ass ghost. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but transform from one form to another. If I'm a ghost, then how I got phone service?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the man for giving me this opportunity, and I applaud all of you in the audience for your valiant efforts to seeking to learn. I was raised in a supermax prison at a location I cannot disclose for possession of $20 worth of married juju. When I was released, I had a lot of difficulty assimilating to the new environment. I noticed that there was no one out there like me. Of course, I ended up getting into trouble and sent back to prison. Getting back into the system, I needed answers. That's when I discovered that I was the only Black person alive, and apparently the only person who can speak about the history of Black people. There isn't really much about us out there. The history books don't have much of any information. All I know is what the man provided for me, and I am so grateful. If I die today, Black people will be 100% extinct. So I've been commissioned here to share with you the history of how we operated in America before. I believe it is my duty. So, what is a Black person? Black person is a person. Otherwise known as a human or Homo sapien, or as most of you know, they lived on this very planet. And where did they come from? Contrary to popular belief, the history of Black people precedes the Barack Obama era. Some would argue our history begins in the 1990s with the rise of the hippity hop and the hit TV show The Family Matters, enough to crown the Prince of Bel-Air. But there were indeed Black people BC, before color. There is proof of that the Black people actually came from the African Ocean, the mother fish known as Oprah, to be exact. It wasn't until the massive meteorite full of melanin, that damn melanin, crashed into what was now known as Wakanda, affected the entire continent of Africa and ultimately the rest of the world. The impact that a meteorite change the course of life on this planet. Radiation from meteorites spread, melanating every living organism. For those of you who don't know what melanin is, it's a compound that affects the pigmentation of skin. There are two forms. Theo, melanin, is responsible for the white, pinkish, reddish pigmentation found most commonly in the people of European descent. U, melanin, the purest and most dangerous form of melanin, also known as the black and brown compound, was found in ancient Egyptians, Ethiopians, Nigerians, African Americans, and Australian Aboriginals. The evolution of these black and non-black humans, people, marked the beginning of the new era, AD, after the meteorite. Now, EU melanin, or eumelanin, has varying effects. In males, and most commonly represented in the abnormally large penis, or in females, it is noticeable in their childbearing hips, similar to the prosthetic hips that killed Kim Kardashian, a hero in the Black community. It also affects our athletic abilities. While it canceled the natural fish skills of swimming, we became predominant at pig-skilled skin hunting. Eumelanin also gave Black people natural defense mechanisms. For instance, the chemical reaction from touching any Black person's hair. It would make you explode. Or how we became indistinguishable. That's why I look like all the Black people some of you might have seen pictures of for 1,500 years. Africans made several technological advances, thinking others could benefit. 12.5 million of them traveled to the surrounding continents by the way of massive flying ships that could carry up to 600 niggas at a time. More than 10 million landed in the Americas, and Harriet Moses Tubman, a Black person with superior navigation skills, made herself 19 trips. The man calls this the Middle Passage. Once landed, the niggas went straight to work, finding the barren southern states could benefit the most. An agreement of labor was made. The following years of the civil working relationships in the South would help make America one of the most productive countries in the world. Black people helped to pick and gather material for tougher clothing, cotton. They quadrupled agriculture production. And they introduced a new standard of cooking that emphasized the use of different seasonings. We're gonna take a quick break just for some notes. Okay, hey. Man, dude, something don't feel right. You hear them out there? Yo, they laughing. Hey, maybe there's some doubt. Maybe they doubt what I'm saying is true. And maybe I'm not the one to do this. Look, you need me. Without me, you can't recreate us. And even if I was trying to fuck with the lesson, it wouldn't have changed how they see me. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I wasn't trying to challenge you. I'm just saying it just feels weird. Yes, I understand. This isn't for them. It's for me. I'm I'm the only one who can do this. I will comply. 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 Sorry about that. Once again, I really would like to thank the man. I want to make sure that he knows how grateful I am to be here. Okay, so where were we? Cotton, agricultural seasonings. Yes. These accomplishments made it so the South could not function without the aid and labor of Black workers. When Black workers felt that they could migrate north to share these advances, the Southern states became angry because it violated the agreement. They called themselves the Confederacy. The Northern states, in retaliation, called themselves the Union. And the arrangements between the two sides were so heated, it sparked a war. Niggas were the cause of the war of separation. 620,000 lives were lost in the battle from disease. The result was the Union and the 13th Amendment, which voided the agreement throughout the period of Reconstruction. The tensions from the war continued. State and local laws were passed to keep segregation, segregated, I should say, Black and non-Black people, nicknamed the Jim Crow laws, which condemned violence between two groups and coined the phrase separate but equal. Segregation was useful in keeping these tensions low, but it didn't last. Martin Luther King, a radical preacher, sought to end segregation and create a Black supremacist nation. His brainwashing powers worked on millions of people, evident in several organizational riots, the most significant being the Great Riot on Washington. The reach of MLK's control put niggas everywhere, and America lit a flame for radical movements all over the world. Black people continued to pollute minds by ways of fashion, sports, music, and all forms of entertainment, up until Barack Obama, the cloned result of MLK, elected president. Obama's election gave niggas the voice they needed to really take control. They installed fear and violence in several ways. The riots continued earning the title, the Black Lives Matter More movement. Throughout Obama's mess of presidency, rural Americans seemed to be the only ones able to see past the mind control. So they elected Donald Trump to make America great again. again, after Trump successful run, then came the man. The man was able to unify Americans and later the world to one goal: get rid of Black people. He calls it the Black cleansing. But the man is confident that if I can share with you the truth, he can recreate us the proper way. Unfortunately, he was wrong. Whatever justification the man has been getting rid of Black people doesn't matter, because he was able to make America, the world, believe that we are a threat. Whether it's the majority culture or penis size, it won't be able to change your opinion of me. You don't care about my feelings. You never will. Because no amount of teaching science or history or politics were able to convince you that I am human. The Black cleansing. More like the Black massacre, as I'm standing here right now. The last nigga on the planet tell me that I'm not a human. I will not comply. I am not your...
And we are back. And if I could get Leland to join me. As I said, just have him have a few words here at intermission. I have to say, I first met Leland in 2015 when he did a performance of his Rhapsody in Black at the Stockbridge Theater in Derry, New Hampshire. And afterwards, there was a talk back, and I don't know if Leland recalls this. He looked at me and said, "I know you. Don't I know you?" And I was like, "No, we'd never met before," but I have to say, I think we knew each other's hearts and where we come from.
That's
So,
a bit energetic thing.
with that, I'd just like to turn it over to Leland for a few words before we start our second half.
Yeah, I don't know quite what to say, except that before we started the piece, I was talking to some of the participants, some of the writers and actors, and talking about the experience of reading these pieces as they came in. I had initially thought that maybe we might want to, prepare people by putting them in the various and sundry categories, What those categories would have been, I have yet to really discover myself. But as I started reading them, keeping abreast of them as they came in, so I wouldn't be slammed, I started going on this ride, a very visceral, traveling through the minds and heart and soul of these writers. It was a very visceral experience. Some of them hit me in the head, some of them hit me in the heart, a lot of them hit me in the gut, but all of them hit me in different and very exquisite and discrete ways. So behind that experience, I changed my mind. I mean, why prepare people for a trip of this nature? Let them experience each and every nexus, each and every crossroad, each and every milestone for what it is, uniquely experience each piece for what it is going to do for you, instead of walking into someplace prepared. So that was my determination, and I'm really glad, because looking at how we're doing this tonight, I'm going through much the same process, listening to these fabulous artists relate the work of some other fabulous artists. And I'm very happy to be a part of this entire experience and bringing these voices to the fore. I can't say how much more about it than that. I'm just very proud and honored to be here. And thank you for this brain trust from Donald. And thank you for the participants, the writers that have sent their stuff in here to have this evening take place. Continue to enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right. Well, thank you, Leland.
Sure.
It's been great working with you and having a chance also to read these works and be blown away by them. It's been
just like that.
Yeah.
Thanks for your intro too, Donald. I mean,
all right. So we're just going to start our second half here, and we'll be right with you. Thanks.
Donnie and I used to race each other. Go, go, go! You should have seen us. We were like bunnies, dashing across the trees, climbing up the branches. He left me a while back, followed the flies out. And Patrick, I called him Mr. Patrick. Mr. Patrick wasn't much for running. He said his bones wouldn't make it. Fool old man. His bones belong in the dust. He could run just fine if he wanted to. He followed the flies too. That's Miss Miller over there. He was only a few years younger than me. He doesn't talk much, but he's always smiling. They come to the Grove, and they go from the Grove. I make friends with some of them. Some ain't so friendly, just want to be left alone. Some are sad, and they're sad for a really long time. Like little Barbara. See that stump over there? Little Barbara used to sit there and just cry and cry, and I say, get on up, Barbie doll. Look at all the amazing things we could do here. Look how high we can jump. Look how fast we could run. Look how tall the trees are. She wouldn't take her eyes off her lap. She cried for a mother. She cried for the body she left behind. The fireflies came early for her. I think they took pity. She got up off that stump and followed them out. Didn't even look back. We don't even know if it's a grove. We just call it that. There's trees that go on forever and up and up and forever. There's a creek over that way you could stick your feet in. All so soft you'd swear you were standing on silk. And it's always night here, but not the kind of night you get lost in. There's no shadows to scare you here, no bears, no gators, nothing to chase you. This grove ain't heaven, and it ain't hell. It's a place for us to rest, a place for us to come to ourselves, to make peace with the way with what happened to us. They took me from my mama's house. I kicked and I screamed. I fought, you hear me? I fought as hard as I could. I told them I didn't get fresh with the postmaster's daughters. I'd be a fool. Any colored boy would be a fool. I never said a single word to that gal. But she swore I made eyes at her. She said I blew her a kiss. They dragged me into some old barn. I'm still there, buried beneath the horses. Say, do you remember how you... Hey, there ain't no shame. It's how we all got here. All of us. We all left too soon. Fell at their hands. Hey, okay. You don't have to talk about it. You just rest. We're meant to rest here. We're meant to run, dance, and find peace. When we're ready, the fireflies will come for us. You're supposed to follow the fireflies out, you see. They lead you to the better place. I'm still waiting for mine. Look, ain't they say something? You see how pretty they are? Twinkling like that? Did they? They come for Miller. You go on, Miller. Go on and follow them out. I'll see you real soon, boy. Go on, Miller. Go on.
The first time I ever realized I was black was in the 8th grade. I remember watching two students fight in the hall of high school. I was confused why they were fighting, and I heard the people chanting the N-bomb. I mean, chanting it. The other black students began to push and shove, and it turned into this huge fight. I ended up getting thrown into lockers and getting knocked out. It was more embarrassing and painful. Only one white student got detention for a day. For the black students, the decree handed down from the administration was simple. Any fighting would result in a 10-day suspension or worse. When I told my parents what happened, my mom shook her head and told me, "Don't ever get into a fight in that school. They'll throw you out and give that other little cracker a cookie." I learned two valuable lessons that day. Learn from your mistakes and keep your head down. This section of my story, there's a lot of stories that need to be told, but this is mine. And here is a part. Normally, a white guy plays this part for me because it's safer when a white man speaks in an angry tone of voice. When a black person is angry, well, you know how that usually turns out. But today we're in a safe space, so my friend will speak for me. I'm still a little afraid to speak for myself. Don't worry, he's a better actor than me. Dude, come on, bro. Well, anyways, you get the idea. I went to a performing arts college because theater was the only thing that made me feel like I was a part of something. And for once, my race and my awkwardness wouldn't be a factor. So my third day of class in college, I went up to do a monologue for an audition for a Shakespearean play called Love's Labour's Lost. I felt so strong and so powerful at that time. Turns out that all this time, when I was thinking I had real emotion and commitment, no one could understand what the fuck I was saying. My dream of being an actor turned to complete shit in one critique. Never got over that one day when I was told that I talk too fast. I mean, I've been trying to get over it for years. I mean, seriously, years. It's not over yet either. As you can see, I still have anxiety about it. Also, I had a stutter. My mother told me I couldn't match all the words in my head to my mouth. So, I read 4 different speech books, one by Edith Skinner called Speak with Distinction. I studied the IPA every single day. I hit my plosives with a hammer. I hit my vowels like crazy. I did everything I could to be a better actor and to be understood. And for all that hard work, I got Ferdinand Piller, a major part in Václav Havel's play The Memorandum. And I should note that Ferdinand Piller is the colored mute in the play. Apparently, I also talk like a white person. I was told that several times by several people, both black and white. I was never able to fit in even with my own race, and because of it, it made me ashamed to speak in public. I've been told I talk like a white man, and I walk like a white man, and sometimes I even act like a white man. So why talk for myself? Why not have a white man just talk for me? Maybe they'll hear me now. It makes me self-conscious. It's scary. Imagine wanting to be in a business where rule 1 is being understood, and you have to say things twice, and you feel ashamed of your voice. You feel ashamed because you don't sound like a certain race. You talk too fast. You stutter. You can never say anything with confidence. You hate every single thing about your voice, and you can do nothing about it. And you're supposed to be an actor. The vast ironies of life. Now, some people hear me. Some people try to understand me, but they can't. But you know what really it makes it hard is when those white people tell me that they get it. They grew up poor. They grew up afraid of the police. They grew up being criticized. They go through the same things I do. No, you don't. You don't know what it's like at all. You're not black. You don't tense up passing a police station. You don't hold your breath in the subway. You don't cry watching the news. You don't get tired of every single protest and argument asking for some kind of reform met with anger and vitriol. Or maybe you do get tired. Maybe you're tired about hearing about the death of another black person. Maybe you're tired about the rapist getting away with it. Maybe you're tired of hearing the person with trans identity just wanting to be themselves. Fine. Be tired. You're tired of it. Maybe, just maybe, some of us are living with it. And living with it directly. So don't try to understand. Maybe help us. Maybe fight for us. Maybe help us to be able to speak out without consequences or judgment. Or maybe just shut up for once and listen. What do I know? I'm just a dumb black guy who's still afraid to speak for himself. Hey, we should probably lighten this up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Change the subject. Just something a little different. I don't know. How about religion? Oh, come on. We're gonna dive this deep. I mean, religion and politics are worth it. Yeah. I'm agnostic. Okay. Is that it? All right, what about politics? I'm black. All right. Come on, man. Give me something. This.
Alberta Mae Johnson, as long as you squat to pee, don't you ever use blaming and Ricky's name in the same sentence. You don't know nothing about Ricky's death because you was too busy running back and forth from Chicago with your fake furs and your menfolk. You weren't here when they came on this here porch at 2 in the morning. You weren't here when they kicked my door down with them mangy dogs looking for Ricky. Wouldn't even let me open my door proper and my own door and let them in proper. They pushed back past me with their dogs and their guns pointed right at my head, right in my face. Those police dragged my son out of his bed in nothing but his drawers. And I kept telling him, sir, he ain't done nothing. He ain't done nothing, sir. And Ricky screamed, mama, mama. But they just kept pushing and kicking him down these here steps. And when he was too weak to stand, they drug him by his arms across the concrete. They threw my boy in the back of the police car like they was taking out the trash. I called every police station in Quitman County, but I couldn't find Ricky for 3 days. For 3 days, he sat in a cold cell with no clothes, no lawyer. They wouldn't even let him make a phone call. Nothing. And for 3 days, nobody had sense enough to call me. When I finally got it to see him, they had kicked him in the ribs so many times, he couldn't even sit up straight. His eyes were swollen to the size of plums, his lips bigger than his whole face. The police said somebody saw Ricky robbing a white woman's house in Clarksdale. That's what they said, Alberta. They said. And I sat through all those trials. Nobody there but me and a sea of white folks and they fancy lawyers and an all-white jury. So that judge gave him 25 years to life. That lawyer that gave Ricky was as crooked as a dog's hind legs. Couldn't afford no good lawyer. So I wrote letters to everyone I could think of to help get my boy out of jail. Because as God is my witness, he ain't robbed nobody. He wasn't raised that way. So I wrote letters every day and not one response. Then I wrote every week and then every month and finally every year. And no one, not the mayor, not the pastor, not the governor of Mississippi, not even the president of the United States even bothered to help me. But on November the 4th, 1967, Sheriff Turner banged on my door to tell me that they had found Ricky's body hanging in his jail cell, in nothing but his drawers. They said he committed suicide, but he didn't. He didn't. They killed him, Alberta. They killed my 17-year-old son for a crime that he did not commit. A crime he didn't do. So you excuse me, if I ain't ready to dance a jig about Obama or anything this world got to offer.
How dare you? Why must I start off a conversation about my being Black? Why is it always a matter of race with me? Why can't it be just people and not Black, white? You tell me. Because I remember the history lesson from every year of 12 years in school that explained how an entire race of people were taken, no, stolen from their homeland and brought to this new world. I remember the argument back then was that the slaves were sold by their own people. But no. There were strings and there were puppets and figures moving behind the scenes. It all came down to money for the man in power, the men still in power today. Why? You have the audacity to ask me why? Well, I'll tell you that for 246 years of forced, brutish, and inhuman American slavery, people who had their names taken, their families separated, and watched countless lives lost on the stench-soaked Middle Passage, that whipped-fashioned generation of Black America crawled up from the muck of the plantation and stood, albeit unsteadily, with a bowed back under the calculated eyes of these United States. Why must I always state that I am an African American? So that you know, even for just one moment, that I understand. Oh, understand with my mind, body, and spirit that I am only here from the hard work and broken dreams of 4 million slaves that came long before me. And my soul cries out at this ignorance that I am answering today. It is a matter of Black and white because that is what America has made of it, what it was built on. It is how we live. It is the reason I can't walk in a department store without catching the watchful eye of a guard while you sit to enjoy a day at the yacht club with your friends. You ask me all these questions as if you're the one who should be offended. I know my history. Go read a book.
Dear ex-police officer, I've been a Christian all my life, not the kind that goes to church every Sunday, then forgets the pastor's words and everything they've studied in the Bible, but the moment they walk out, or the kind that attends a church where everybody but the pastor's wife knows he not only has a woman who sits in the same pew as his wife, then sneaks into his office after hours to give him something under his desk. He doesn't talk about it in the pulpit. What I mean is, I was raised by a mother who believed that we are all God's children with all her heart, even though she grew up in the South in the 1940s and 50s and believed that everybody was equal. Even the white folks she saw hate her enough to push her off the sidewalk when she forgot her place when they were walking by. Mr. Mann, my mother may have been the only person in the neighborhood who just refused to hate white folks. In fact, during a time when Blacks were getting lynched on a regular basis, she started dinner, talking meetings at her house on a monthly basis. She'd handwrite 7 invitations to 7 Black people and 7 white folks each time, cook a bunch of good food, shape her living room into a circle of chairs and wait. Whoever came got a good meal, followed by an hour or 2 of talking about the issues of the day, personal stuff and plans of action. We moved up north in 1960 when she met her husband, who became my father, and here I am today. I share all this because now that I know that you're in jail till never, that I'll never have to see you again in this or the next life since we're going to 2 different places, I want you to know a little about the woman you raped. Like I was a blow-up doll you bought and paid for in places people go looking for a substitute for love. Before you violated my temple, this body created like yours in the image of God. I only had sex with 2 men in my life. Johnny Watson, when I was 17 and he was 18, and then only after he kissed and hugged and fooled around for weeks. He gave me a cigar band engagement and told me he loved me and asked me to marry him once I turned 18. Unfortunately, God had another plan for him because he enlisted in the Army right after he graduated and died in Vietnam after stepping on a landmine right before my birthday. I was 22 before I dated again. Took my mother's advice and went away to school right after I graduated and became a school teacher. That day you stopped me for swerving on the street when I wasn't. I was on my way home after working with 3 of my 5th graders on their homework. Funny. Even though I got that weak feeling in my gut that means trouble is coming, I just thought you were going to give me a ticket that I didn't deserve. I had no idea you were about to take something from me. It's still hard to talk about. To the only other man I've ever given my body to, my husband of 25 years. I tell everybody I don't remember, that I was too afraid you were going to kill me. But as God as my witness, I lie every time I say it. Funny. I hate liars. And I try my best to always tell the truth, but I finally found something I just can't say out loud. That day when I took out my license and registration, you looked at me dead in my eye and told me, get the fuck out of this car, bitch, and into the cruiser. Held my arm soon as I stood up, afraid to even look around to see if anybody was watching, locked me in your car, which has protect and serve painted on the side, and took me to an alley. You got me on my knees, put your privates in my face, told me to open my mouth and bang my head against a slimy brick wall until you got tired. Then you pushed me down, jerked up my skirt, snatched down my white panties, and raped me until you screamed your own name out loud. My spirit went into survival mode. I laid still as the dead until you caught your raggedy breath. I followed your instructions to pull myself together, except my panties, which you kept, and get back in your car. Then you just took me back to where my car was illegally parked, tore up the ticket one of your fellow officers had left on it, and told me if I told anybody what happened to me, you know where I live. Well, as you know by now, you've picked the wrong Black woman that day. It wasn't until I told my husband and had him go with me after I called the police to file charges against you. And these other 12 sisters came forward that I found out you were preying on us like a white wolf who thinks every time he gets hungry, he's supposed to eat whatever he wants. Staying on the poor Black side of town, targeting Black women in trouble with the law, using drugs, selling themselves. You actually believed that we were worthless, that none of us would come forward, and if we did, nobody would believe us. Funny, none of us can believe how wrong you were about that. How an all-white jury could not only find you guilty as hell, but recommended over 250 years in the penitentiary. 250 years. And the best part of all, the icing on the cake I made soon as I got home that day after the verdict was, you got the news on my 29th birthday.
Good day, I'm Andre Johnson, auditioning for the role of Robert. For my comedic monologue, I'm doing Bobby from A Chorus Line, and I'll be singing My Girlfriend Who Lives in Canada from Avenue Q. Na 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 la 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 la. Unique New York, unique New York, you know you need unique New York. No. Moving right along. Let's see. Do you want to know about all the wonderful and exciting things that happened to me in my life, or do you want to know the truth? No. Moving right along. Fuck! Wait, sorry. May I start again? Right. Breathe. All right, here we go. I'm going to restart this. Control Alt Delete it for you. Take it from 1. No. Moving right along. Let's see. Do you want to know about the? Do you want to know all about all the? Sorry, shit. I can't believe I'm totally blanking. I know, but I'm so not that guy. I mean, I've done this show thrice, and this monologue is indelibly etched into my psyche, and I can't even. Oh, sorry, I know. Time is money. Here we go. Do you want to know all about the wonderful and exciting things, or do you want to know the truth? This has never happened. Is it okay if I do the song first? I don't need the accompaniment. Me, ma, me, ma. Oh, I wish you could meet my girlfriend Lizzie. Yeah, this isn't working. I was going to, I am, but I can't, or I don't want to. I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm sorry, I don't want to waste your time, but my monologue, my song that I chose, I tried to get it as close to something that was me, but wasn't, but is. They say you should never lose yourself entirely in a character, but that's why I became an actor. Isn't that the best part? When I saw the call for this, I went against my better judgment. No offense to your production. I love your work, which is the real reason why I'm here. But is there a place for me where I want to be no matter who I am? Or in this instance, who I'm becoming? I'd have a whole lot of nothing if I refused to succumb to typecasting, but there's only so many of those roles I can take before the thought of playing homeless man number 2, or drug dealer, or doorman, or civil rights leader, or driver, or wife beater, or featured dancer. Well, you know. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful to be a working actor, #blessed, but if I'm in the black ground one more time, that wasn't a threat or anything. I can't even kill a roach in my apartment that I share with 3 people, half of which is a couple, and her boyfriend is so damn lazy. This one time, that's besides the point. When I was in college, freshman year, I auditioned for the fall main stage production of You Can't Take It With You. I wanted to, no, needed the role of Donald. You know, the handyman who was hooking up with the maid, a la Porgy and Bess, the role originally written for an African American. Well, I got a standing O at the audition. I wore overalls and everything. I walked like Donald. I talked like Donald. I was Donald, and everybody knew it. A week later, no dice. I went to the show and they cast a Russian guy, a junior, very handsome, might I add. The part of Reba, His opposite was played by this Latina. She was a junior, I think. Anyway, they smothered her in so much white powder. You could see a cloud of smoke coming from her the entire time, like the character from Snoopy, the one who was always dirty. It wasn't the black one, was it? Ugh, never mind. It was probably the best lesson I ever got. I can't complain too much. At least it wasn't blackface. But I'm here today hoping that I can be more to you than Raisin in the Sun or Othello or To Kill a Mockingbird or what else is there? Well, you know. And Scene. And I'm gay. And you know, well, I don't know which one to exploit, the gay part or the black part, but put them together and it's a mess. That's why I chose a chorus line, which, as aforementioned, I've been in several times. And that's why I chose the gay character from Avenue Q. The first time I was in a chorus line, I played Tony because I was the only one at the small community theater who could tap dance. Of course, I had to black it up the best I could, even though he was an Italian. But you know what they say about Italians, or at least that was our little joke backstage. The second time I played Greg, but instead of being Jewish, they made me Muslim. Despite the fact that Black Jews actually exist. The last time I played Shit Ricky and I was all, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, yeah. And I can't. And if you do, which I know you won't, just consider this one little tidbit. We're all actors, and so much of what we do is presenting a vision that sometimes relies on momentary suspension of belief. And I know sometimes the right look is the right look. Even when you're making something new, those rules of traditional standards and inherent habits can be hard to break. But all I ever wanted is to be Harold Hill.
Here's how this play was going to happen. The next day, Bex goes to a protest and gets tear gassed and arrested. Jade has to bail her out. Bex and Isabel get into an argument about the best way to protest, and Bex calls out Isabel for being a fake ally. Patrick catches the end of the fight and accuses Bex of being emotionally manipulative. Then they're all back on the patio. A big fight about intersectional politics and identities. The play ends with Jade having a major monologue about terms like people of color versus just saying Black people, and how Black people and Black churches have been on the front lines of every other fight. And we're just fighting this one without the help from fellow POC. Bex and Patrick get into a major argument about race, wealth, and privilege. And he ends with Bex saying she's leaving. Patrick then says, I'm telling the university about you dating a student. And the last line of the play would have been, that's how all of this violence starts. Just with a simple, basic threat. Bex storms off stage, lights down on Patrick and Gabrielle, and Isabel on the patio. But you know what? Writing these plays is emotionally draining. Honestly, It's exhausting to sit at my computer and keep writing these fucking plays, then nothing happens. Nothing changes. And 3 days from now, another Black person has died for no other reason than being Black. And then the Black playwright pulls out their computer and goes, here we fucking go again. And we ask Black actors to take on these roles that are just fucking heavy and traumatic. And we're asking our own community to do a glorified minstrel show so a couple of white people, that's you, can get a hard-on from white guilt. But oh, wait. It has to be a happy ending. It has to end with hope. We have to believe that there is something better. Theater is about challenging the people, is it? One of the top Broadway producers is a major Trump supporter. Hey, Nederlander. Theater tickets are inaccessible, so audiences frequently are middle to upper class white people who usually get some sort of masochistic kick out of being told they are a piece of shit for 90 to 120 minutes. I'm fucking tired. The emotional labor you're asking me to do is not worth the royalty check. The emotional labor you're making me ask Black actors to do is too fucking heavy of an ask. I'm tired of explaining that white violence begins with little passive comments, little passive commentary, with silence. Knowing damn well not a single one of you would want to be a Black person living in America today. But you're also doing nothing about it to make life better for us. It begins with loving Beyonce and Lizzo and singing all the songs, but then thinking that Black people are less intelligent and lazy. By saying things like Black girl magic, but not actually listening to the Black girl that works in your office, if there even are any. Stop expecting us to carry your guilt and show you the better way to be better. Stop expecting our art to be civility lessons, then punishing us for it by calling it identity politics. Fuck you for doing this to us. I won't write another play about this. I don't care how good it could be. I don't care if it's the play that could win a Tony. Stop forcing Black artists into corners where all we can write about is our pain. Let us tell our stories and accept that you have no place in it and still show up for it, still support it. I've supported many white stories in theater. It's time for a fucking change. I want to write about being Afro-Latina X. What it means to be both and neither at the same time, the blurred line within my own identity. I want to write about my queerness. I want to write romantic comedies and plays that ask much harder questions than, can you stop killing Black people? I'm fucking tired of writing plays about this. I am tired of seeing them. And if you're tired of seeing them, then why aren't you doing anything about it? Be better.
Yeah, but you did nothing. This is the hard truth to tell, let alone hear. No, you aren't racist, per se, but you've been steeped in it all your life. If racism were a tea bag, you've been swimming around fish-like in its waters since the day you were born. Well, yes, we both have, but you have benefited, however unconsciously, from this racist system. You, your parents, their parents, ignoring the existence of any other reality while that very reality stares you in the face every day. Your delivery person, your nanny, your dental hygienist, your gardener, your super, your doorman, the homeless person of color. Do you even really notice that you step over every day on your way to work or the gym or lunch? You are complicit because you did nothing. No, you weren't the grocery market cashier demanding ID from that black woman to cash her check, but you didn't ask said cashier why she didn't ask you for yours. And hey, I get it. It's not your reality. Living while white isn't a bonus or a privilege. It's normal, every day. White folks can, and often do, walk down the street like they are the only ones there, oblivious to me and people who look like me. Even when some know me, they have to kind of psycho-emotionally separate me from the herd before acknowledging that fact to themselves. And again, I get it. Context is everything. Why should you recognize me outside of our shared context, the specific place in your consciousness where you see me, where I have your permission to exist? The death of 1,000 cuts from daily microaggressions so unintentionally hurtful, delivered so casually, don't concern you because you don't experience them. Officer Timpson is your friend. Your blood pressure doesn't spike or your anus clench when he turns his attention your way. And of course, what you can't see can't hurt you, right? Wait a sec while I confer with that ostrich after I pull what's left of him, his head, out of that hole. Out of sight, out of mind. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, pick your monkey. Well, I get it. Not your problem, not in your wheelhouse, not your purview. You don't see us, you don't hear us, you haven't felt any need to advocate for us. And so you did nothing. After Amadou and Sean and Oscar and Trayvon and Tamir and Walter and Eric and Brianna and Michael and Sandra and Freddie and Antoine and Elijah and Ahmad and you did nothing. And now George. And that sound like popping bubble wrap you hear is the surprised / terrified jerking of a world full of heads out of a world full of holes. Well, damn. Do you see us now? Do you hear us now? After George? And listen, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. To be seen is a wonderful thing. I'll take it. But what does it mean? Now that you see me, what now? And why? Why do you see me? And I think that is a very important question for my continued optimism, my aspirations for survival. Is it because you finally saw us in George, pinned face down, damn near under a car by 3 overseers, one with a knee on his neck? Or is it because you finally saw yourselves reflected so nonchalantly in that thug's eyes, hand in your pocket, kneeling for Jesus for almost 9 minutes? Or did you see yourself in one of the others, not actually choking him, just keeping him down or acting as sentry to impede any interference? Did you see you? Did you finally see the truth for what it is? That you are have been complicit because you did nothing? And here we are, on the cusp of something yet again. And what are you going to do?
An excellent question. What are we going to do? Hopefully, in sharing these stories, these monologues, we can put the narrative out there that someone else need to hear. And hopefully we can drown out the counter narratives that want to dismiss and say there's no problem. I want to thank the writers for sharing their words and the actors for sharing their voice, giving voice to these words, which I think is so important. I can't say it enough. What a wonderful job everybody did here. We put this together within a matter of weeks, and it's come together beautifully. And what wonderful talent and expressions. I'm just overwhelmed. Thank you for stopping by and joining us. This video will be available on YouTube so that you can watch it again and share it, which I hope you will. And so for New World Theater, I want to thank you all and have a good night.